Hello everyone, Justin here, and today what we're gonna do is practice a little shading by taking this Sharpie drawing of Mickey Mouse and shade it using pencil. Previously what I did was I digitized this drawing and colored it in with Procreate. But anyway, so first thing I'm gonna do is just use my HB pencil here and just give it a light shading throughout his face, kind of just an even tone, and we'll go ahead and add some shadows afterwards just to show the shape of the face, the shadows, and make it more three-dimensional. So normally if you have a regular pencil, you can use the pencil on its side to cover these larger areas a little bit more quickly. But in this case, I'm just using a lot of lines because this line is a little thinner. But we'll take our time, kind of just try to make it as even as you can. And one thing to keep in mind is you don't want to be rotating your pencil as you do this, otherwise you're going to find that you're going to be marking on a different part of the tip of the lead, and now you'll get a different line. It'll be sharper and it'll stick out from the rest of your lines. So try not to move this. So right now the tip of the lead is fairly flat, angled. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do here is, actually I'm gonna shade in the tongue a little bit. I'm gonna leave this upper left part of the tongue a little bit lighter, not touching it, to start giving it shape and make it a little bit darker here on the bottom of the tongue. Alright, so here I'm gonna first add a cast shadow here underneath his upper snout. In fact, I'm going to use my 6B lead that's in this pencil. That way I can get a darker line. Okay. This is pretty soft, so I have to use pretty light strokes when I want more of an intermediate tone with this, otherwise it'll get too dark. So I'm going to add some more shadows here under this side of the snout. And this whole part under here is going to be a little bit darker than here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add another layer of shading to make this area dark. Okay. Now here, this part's going to start catching light, so I'm not going to get to that part with this second round of shading. I'll just take this up to here, and again I'm gonna make it a little bit darker here on the edge, and then start getting lighter here as this part's gonna catch some light. Alright, so again I will go ahead and add some shadow underneath the nose, just because that's gonna cast some shadow and his nose kind of sticks out. So I'll just add a round shadow here initially, and then I'm gonna gradually fade it out here so it's not so sharp. And then I'm gonna add some tones right underneath here just to give this snout some shape, like that, and again right here. That way this whole area here isn't so flat. Okay, and I'm just using random lines, random directional lines. I'm not really following any specific pattern. As I need more darkness, I'll just go back to that area with my pencil. Okay, same here, underneath his lower mouth, his lips maybe, or his chin, I'm gonna add some shadow here so it's not so flat. Okay, like that. And again here, this whole edge here, I want it to be a little bit darker just to give it more shape and kind of blend it in with this area here. Okay, now this upper part of his snout will be really catching a lot of light, so that'll be lighter. So then this area here will be further in the back, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker right behind the snout here. Same with here, and progressively make it a little bit lighter to blend in with what we already did. Okay, same thing here. Just gonna kind of match what I did here on either side, and then back here again. So a little bit darker here, and then going up. And you can also use cross hatch. That can be easier, where you just add more to make it darker. Okay, so these buttons on his shirt are gonna be white, of course, so I'm gonna go ahead and make his pants darker, and I'll just stay with this softer lead for now. And I'm just gonna again get an even tone, and you could always make these strokes blend in a little bit better by using a blending stump, or what I often do is I just use my finger, and it helps to smooth things out. But I'm not going to do that here because I want it to be more of a sketchy, free flow feeling to this. Alright, so let's make this area a little bit more three-dimensional. So now, again, okay, so actually let me go back here. This is going to be, I'm just going to make this a little bit darker now. So this part's really going to be dark here. The very lower part of his pants. And right here, this is kind of rounded but kind of blending into the legs. So let's make this part darker. I'm just gonna use lines like this, starting to head up. Same with up here. So I'm looking at a gradient from here, darker to here, and it gets lighter, but also darker here from this curved line, going up, and again getting lighter. So I'm kind of blending those two together. Okay, add another layer of cross-hatching marks here, and again here, darker here, becoming lighter up there. And the way I drew these Sharpie lines, I'm going to concentrate more on his belly here. So now this belly, the lightest part will be right here, and it recedes to the back this way and this way. So these right here are going to be a little darker. So I'll start with a dark tone and progressively get light as I go towards the middle. Same here, dark out here, and then lighter towards the middle. Okay, now his hands are actually gloves in the cartoon, so I'm gonna just add a little bit of shadow to make it more three-dimensional. I'm just gonna add a little bit of shadow to make it more three-dimensional, but not much because I want that to look like it's white. Okay, so just on the lower side, lower edge here, and this kind of farther in the back, so maybe I'll make that a little bit darker. Okay, so with the shoes, what I'll do is I'll keep the upper part of his shoe, which is this, and this a little lighter, and I think I'll go ahead and just make these a little bit darker. So I'll just add a little bit of shading here, but darker than the gloves. And I'm gonna leave a little white edge here. Again, it just gives it more volume, so it's not so flat. Okay, same here. I'm gonna leave this part edge a little bit lighter and darken this edge that's next to the sole, the bottom of the shoe. Okay, at the same time, this part here is going to be darker, this part of the upper shoe, so I'm going to make this area darker and slowly blend it in with the upper section. And I will make that a little bit darker still with my other pencil. Okay, so now let's go ahead and darken the soles of the feet. Notice here, when I pick this up, the lines that I'm creating are kind of thin and a little harder edged. But as I keep drawing, that tip becomes flattened out and the line that you create is softer and wider. So that's what I was talking about earlier. So as I try to cover this area, you'll notice that there will be some overlap with the previous group of lines right here, and that will make it look uneven, but we can minimize that later by going over it again. So this part of the sole, or the heel actually, will catch more light, so I'm going to keep that a little lighter than the rest, but it's still going to be dark. So I'll go ahead and do that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and make the bottom of the sole darker by adding another line. This time I'm going in a different direction. So you can see that this part here where I added a second layer right here is darker than here. And this needs a little bit of shading as well. So I'll go back here again with our second layer, and I'm not too concerned about being able to see the strokes. Okay, so that this area doesn't look so flat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back with a third layer just at the bottom here. And maybe bring it up a little bit on this edge here. Not too much. And again, I'm going to make this a little darker on this side here. Just a little more subtle. And I'll do the same here. So let's just cover this whole thing quickly. Alright, so second layer, just like the other side. And notice here, what I'm trying to do is cover this whole area with one stroke. So I'm going from the edge here all the way to the bottom. And by doing this, you have to be a little bit more careful because now your lines are longer and you don't want to overshoot the edge. But by doing this, you don't run into the situation of two sets of lines overlapping and you get a darker area. Okay, I'm just going to touch up the edge here where I missed, and again, I'm gonna make the bottom of the sole here darker with a second layer. And again, make this area, this part here, the bottom part, just a touch darker. Same with this area here, so that there's a slight feeling of it being a little bit rounder, curved, because his shoe is not totally flat. So I'm just gonna go in here a little bit more. I'm drawing on cardstock, so I can't get as dark as with regular drawing paper. Okay, here are the buttons, and yes, the buttons are light colored, but you still want to add a little bit of shading, so I'm just gonna use my, in fact actually what I'll do is I'll just use my finger, pick up some lead here, smooth this out a bit, and just go over the button just slightly on the lower part. Okay, and just to give it a little bit more volume as well, I'm just gonna add another line here to show that it has some thickness, and here. Okay, and then shade on this side of that line, that shadow line. Okay, so if you'd like, you could go over this with your finger or a blending stump, but I won't do that. And right here as well, what I will do, just like the buttons, I'm gonna just pick up some lead with my finger and just add a touch here at the white of his eyes, just so it doesn't look so stark white. And that should pretty much be it. Actually, what I'll also do is I'll also go ahead and add some shadow here. Right here. And here. Just so he doesn't look like he's just floating. Okay, a little crosshatch to show that it's a little bit darker under his butt here. And I'm just gonna make it a little bit more carefree here, where you can see the strokes, and again under his hand. And I'll just extend it out here. And that should pretty much be it. I hope you got something out of this video. Just a little practice with shading with a pencil. And personally, I kind of like this technique with mixing a pen outline or marker outline with pencil shading. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you at the next video. Have a great day.